Alright, hello everyone. Welcome to part 2 of presenting Brago. Let's get through it. Okay, Calciform Pools. Adds colorless mana to my mana pool, which is pretty good for the Eldrazi Displacer. Or I can put counters on it and remove the counters to add any number of blue or white mana to my mana pool for the counters I remove. Reality Acid. Okay, this is great in Brago. So 2 into colorless, enchant permanent, anything. Land, planeswalker, your sister's ex-boyfriend, anything. And when Reality Acid leaves play, that permanent is sacrificed by its controller. Of course, if I blink it with a Brago or some other effect, it comes into play as a new object. Whatever it was enchanting before is sacrificed. It goes on something else for me to, next turn, blink it and make the controller sacrifice whatever I've put it on at that time. Island. Solemn Simulacrum. Okay, something I try to do in this Brago is have as many foils, new arts as possible. I wasn't building any other decks at the time, so I could focus the money that I was spending on Magic on Brago, so I was able to get more interesting cards, more expensive cards, than I would if I'm building 2 or 3 decks concurrently. Spark Double. 3 in a blue. Comes into play as a copy of any creature or planeswalker I control. Okay, so I can't copy what my opponents have, unless I'm copying something that's copying something they have, which is a distinct possibility. And when this comes into play, if I copy a planeswalker, it has an additional loyalty counter. If I copy a creature, it comes into play with an additional +1/+1 encounter. Sweet. Floodplains, Mirage Fetch. I really wish they would finish this cycle. We've got the allied Mirage Fetch lands. We need the enemy Fetch land. Well, they won't be Mirage, they'll be something else. Anyway, Spirit and All. So she's in here, this 3 casting cost, 2/1 Shadow Spirit to get Brago through for the forecast. 1 and a white during my upkeep. Target creature gains Shadow in a turn. So bang. Brago has Shadow. It's highly unlikely anybody will have a Shadow creature to block it, let alone a Shadow creature with flying. I can't remember the last time I saw anybody playing a Shadow creature in any of my EDH games. It just doesn't really happen. Phyrexian Metamorph, so 3 in a Phyrexian blue for a clone that can copy creatures or artifacts. Any of them on the battlefield. Doesn't have to be mine. Hallowed Fountain. Really wanted the Secret Lair version, but wasn't able to get one in time to finalize the build. Had this Hallowed Fountain on hand, and I just thought, yeah, Original Ravnica, that'll do the trick. Cancel's Judgment. I've never cast this before. I got a few because I like the art, full art, and they were cheap. So I thought this is a good deck to try it out in, see if it works. So 1 colorless, white, sorcery, choose a permanent. Everybody votes for, do we exile it or not? So starting with you, each player votes for an non-land permanent no control. Exile each permanent the most votes are tied from the... Oh, okay. So everybody chooses one, and then we all vote to see which one goes away. That's more interesting and political than I thought. Tezzeret the Seeker. Okay, I've got one of these in about 3 or 4 different decks. His +1, untap up to 2 target artifacts. That's just fantastic, especially with the Mana Vault out. His Neg X, search my library for an artifact card with converted mana cost equal to or less than X. That's the secondary reason he's in there. So, his ultimate, I always forget what it is. Neg 5 artifacts I control become 5/5, yeah, whatever. He's not there for the ultimate. Thespian Stage. Add colors from a mana pool. 2 tap, it becomes a copy of target land and gains this ability. So I can copy a land, and then if I get tired of it, I can copy a different land. Every deck needs some way of blowing up somebody's graveyard, of stopping Muldrotha, Jared, Mirren, any of those shenanigans. And Angel of Finality does the trick here because I can blink her and hit another graveyard. Of course, in my Muldrotha, I really don't like Angel of Finality being played against me, and I have 6 cards whose sole purpose is to stop that crap from happening. Ghostly Flicker, 2 and a blue, exile 2 target artifacts, creatures, and or lands I control, then bring them back to the battlefield as new objects. Unfortunately, it doesn't hit planeswalkers, but it's still pretty damn useful. Teferi, who flows the sunset. That would be interesting. Anyway, 2 white-blue, 4 loyalty planeswalker, +1, choose up to 1 target artifact, 1 target creature, 1 target land, untap the ones I control, tap the ones I don't control, gain 2 life. Neg 2, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 1 of them in your hand, the rest of the bottom. So Brainstorm, kind of, with Scry. Scry Storm. Brain Scry. I haven't had him out in play yet, playing Brago. I've only played it about 2 times. And I'm looking forward to see if he's useful or if I should cut him for something else. Thawing Glaciers. Slow, boring, gets the job done. Get me more lands. Swords to Plowshares. This is in here because I realized the need for pinpoint creature removal when a friend of mine played his Thassa's Oracle EDH deck. And I couldn't do anything about Thassa's Oracle when she hit the board because I didn't have anything like Swords to Plowshares in the deck I was playing at the time. So when I got home, I made room for swords. And I put a swords in Brago. Glasspool Mimic. 3 and a blue. Comes into play as a copy of creature I control, except it's also a shapeshifter rogue, but who cares? Or, it's an island that comes into play tapped. I'm going to put it in island side up, because it's my deck, I can do whatever I want. And it's just so pretty. Skycloud Expanse. Colorless, tap, add blue and white to my mana pool. There he is, the Eldrazi Displacer. 2 colorless white for a 3/3 colorless Eldrazi Bastard. 2 and a colorless, exile another target creature, then return to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. Obviously, I'm going to be hitting my creatures more than anybody else's, but sometimes it's useful to have him hit somebody else's island. Momentary Blink. So, blink a creature, flashback, 3 and a blue, blink a creature, exile, momentary blink. Pretty basic. Mercurial Pretender. He should cost 4. I mean, come on. So, yeah. He can be bounced back by spending the 2 blue, bounce it back so I can copy something else. But he can only copy my creatures, not anybody else's. So, anyway, he costs 5, and I've got him in the deck, and I like the art. Let's go on to the next one. Plains. Return to Dust. I'm really surprised how cheap these full art foils are. So I slapped one in here. 2 white, exile target artifact or enchantment. If I cast it during my main phase, I can exile 2 artifacts and or enchantments. Glacial Fortress. The Ixalan checklands, whatever the hell we're calling them. 3 of them I like, 2 of them I don't like. I don't like the Dragon Skull Summit. I like the Glacial Fortress. I like the Drowned Catacomb, and I can't remember the other one I like, but I know I don't like the Dragon Skull Summit. It just looks goofy. I prefer the original. This is one of the chief cards in the deck. 3 white-blue for 4 protection from red, which has never ever been relevant in any form of the deck I've ever played, but it's still kind of nice that she has it for that corner case where it does become relevant. So when she comes into play, detain each non-land permanent my opponent's control with current mana cost 4 or less. So Soul Ring, Goblins, Elves, Elvish Piper, Mana Vault, Mana Crypt, all that get shut off. And if I can blink her, if I can shut it off every turn, yeah, who's running the table now, baby? I am. Brago's running the table. That's right. Anyway, Plains. Stoneheart Dignitary. I spend 3 and a white throughout this 1/4 Rhino Soldier, and I can't get attacked by somebody. Now, if there's 3 people gunning after me, I kind of have to pick and choose carefully. But if I can blink it on demand, momentary blink, ghostly flicker, I can stop that crap too. Karma Guide, 3 white for 2/2 flyer, protection from black, and echo. So this is part of my recursion suite. Every deck I try to put in something that can recur things from a graveyard. In Brago, it's the Karma Guide. And for this deck, I chose the Secret Lair art because I've got, what, 3 of the original or is it Destiny versions and 2 Judge foils? So I wanted something different. I like all of my decks to have different art as much as possible. Venser, Shepherd Civil. 2 blue for 2/2 flasher. Comes in the battlefield. Return target spell or creature to its owner's hand. Yeah, pick that back up. And then I'll flicker him. Pick that back up. And then my opponents say, quit being mean to us. Island. Swift foot boots. The booties. 2, equip 1. Equip creatures as haste and shroud. So throw it on Brago. He can attack this turn, and you can't target him. Dovin Ban. Bad Planeswalker, I know. 2 white-blue for 3 Delogiously Planeswalker until my next turn. I don't care about it. I don't do that. I only do the -1, you gain 2 life, draw a card. That's all I've ever done, ever. I've never done the +1. I've never done the -7. I really don't care because what I do is I gain 2 life, draw a card, and then I flicker him with Brago. He comes to play his new object, and I do it again. Island. Plains. Arcane Signet. Yeah, I should get the Secret Lair version, but I had one on hand. Wasn't doing anything. Brago wanted it. He said, I need an Arcane Signet. And I said, okay, here you go, baby. And he said, that's not the one I wanted. And I said, I don't care. Shut it. All right. Teferi's Protection. 2 colorless, 1 white. And I'm going to disappear this turn while you other players slap the crap out of each other, and I'll come back when you motherfuckers calm down. You calm now? Okay, I'm phasing back in. Terrain Generator, I really don't understand why this isn't played more often. It's such a low-hanging fruit. Add colors to your mana pool, 2 tap, put a basic land from your hand and play tapped. It's perfect for any deck that doesn't have green. You know, you've got 3 lands in your hand, basic lands. You can start slapping them down, getting them out of your hand and ramping up. 3 in a blue for a stunt double. He's flashy. Okay, he's got flash, and he can copy any creature on the battlefield. So why the hell does Mercurial Pretender cost 4 in a blue? That's bullshit. Mirror Maid. Okay, basically it's a copy artifact, copy enchantment, stapled together. So 1 blue, copy an artifact or enchantment. I've always loved this picture. Ever since Ice Age came out, I really like that art. Some chick, I guess. Chick guy, I don't know. It's somebody bundled up, walking through this endless wasteland, taking damage if they want blue or white. Here we go. Here's a Secret Lair card. Another one. Talisman of Progress. I thought about getting the original Mirrodin, but it's actually kind of plain because you just have the talisman itself, and then a black background. And this, the background of the books, that just seals it for me. That's just so blue-white. I've got this talisman sitting on my library shelf. Mirror Hall Mimic. 3 and a blue, comes into play as a copy of any creature on the battlefield except it's still a spirit. And then I can disturb it if it dies. And if I disturb it if it dies, I get ghastly mimicry. Yeah, I forget what this does. Just bear with me, okay? Enchant creature at the beginning of my upkeep, create a token that's a copy of enchanted creature. Except a spirit. So, if I have Stonehorn Dignitary, that can get really interesting. If I have Lavinia the 10th and Sakashima of 1,000 Faces, and I can keep copying legendaries, and the legendary rule doesn't apply to me, excuse me, that could get really interesting. Disallow. Counter-target spell, activated ability, or figured ability. In Muldrotha, that's one of the 6 cards that's there solely to protect my graveyard. Clone. So, I talked a minute ago about money. Would have been nice to get a beta version, but it's like 300 euros. So I got this signed unlimited clone, and I like it. Could have gotten revised, but I just went a little bit more old school than that. Clever Impersonator, 2 blue. Comes to play as a copy of any non-land permanent on the battlefield. Any artifact, enchantment, planeswalker. I can copy planeswalkers. Yeah, baby. Alright, Flooded Strand. So, this is where I spent a little money on Brago. Like I said, because I didn't have any other decks in construction at the same time, I could put all my funds into Brago, so I got the full art foil Hollow Fountain from Zendikar. Sun Titan comes into play. Bring your fetch land out of your graveyard, put it back into play. He attacks. You do it again. You do other things too, but that's generally what I'm going to do. Render Silent. White. Blue. Counter-target spell. This controller cannot play spells this turn. Shut it. You've been rendered silent. Copy artifact. We end on a high note. So I started buying some reserved list cards as investments, things to hold on to, nostalgia, but only ones that are useful, that are interesting. And this is a card I haven't had for about 10 years. And when the price went down to about 80 euro, and I was looking at things to add to the copy theme of Brago, of course I thought of Copy Artifact. So there we go. Revised, not unlimited, but I love Amy Weber's art. I hope that in the future, when they have more slush art coming, more like they did with the Chaos Warp Phil Foglio, I hope we have more Amy Weber art coming, more of the original artists of Magic, for that nostalgic feel. Anyway, that ends the presentation of Brago. Stand by for the next one, and I'll do some gold fishing. Cheers.